Hey, PJ here. Have you ever noticed how most of the time it's really hard to start a new habit, especially if it's a habit that you should be doing? Well, understanding why is about half the battle, and the other half is developing and optimizing a strategy to make it not so hard. Today we're going to talk about that. The subconscious is the boss of you, and the subconscious is responsible for making everything easy. So the subconscious takes routines that it sees repeated and it makes those automatic habits. If the subconscious observes you doing something more than a few times, it says, okay, let's make that part of your routine so you don't have to think about it anymore. Saves energy. Thinking about new stuff and developing new routines and creating new habits takes a lot of energy, because that part of the brain is called the prefrontal cortex, the decision part of your brain. And that's the one that's starting these new habits. And that's where discipline is housed. And so since that's so much work, the subconscious is looking for ways to make that easier and make it automatic. So your forebrain, your prefrontal cortex, is busy trying to program the subconscious, and the subconscious is busy trying to take that job off the table for the prefrontal cortex, because that takes so much energy. Since the subconscious is constantly trying to make things easier, it also has a propensity to stick with the status quo. So if the prefrontal cortex is trying to develop a new routine through willpower and expending a lot of energy for that, one of the things the subconscious will do is say, hey, chill out. I've got a whole bunch of routines already stored. They're all automatic. Doesn't take any energy. So let's relax and just rely on one of the routines that's already established, which in other words is the status quo. Subconscious is all about the status quo. If it can convince the conscious mind, prefrontal cortex, to go with the status quo, it'll do it. And it tries to do that all day long because that's easier. Since the subconscious is actually stronger and more influential than the conscious brain, the subconscious usually wins and status quo usually happens. This is one of the reasons why it's so hard to start a new habit, because you're fighting against the status quo. So if you really want change and you don't want to be stuck with the status quo, then you have to teach your subconscious to be okay with change. And it can learn to be better with change. It never learns to be awesome with change and want change, because that's not where it's coming from. It's coming from efficiency. But it can get better at it, and it can learn to accept more change and make that part of the status quo. Once that is adopted, that change is okay, then it's much easier to program the subconscious and to create new habits. Here's some exercises you can do to teach your subconscious that change in the brain away from the status quo is okay. It's called plasticity, neuroplasticity. Your brain is very plastic, it's very changeable, malleable. And here are some ways to make it more malleable and to increase that change. Try shopping at a different grocery store, one that you're not used to. You have your favorite grocery store, and the reason that it's your favorite is because it's easy. You know where everything is, and it's fast and it's efficient. That's the subconscious saying, cool, let's do this. We've learned this, we have routines, and we have to expend less energy shopping. Now this is going to be frustrating. The reason it's frustrating is because it's more work. Your prefrontal cortex has to work, and your subconscious says, oh brother, here we go, expending more energy. But when this is happening, the prefrontal cortex is working, which is a good thing because it's exercise. Maybe shopping at the unfamiliar store takes an extra 5 minutes. So what? It's exercise. Chalk it up as brain exercise. You will get that time back in spades later on with a more flexible and a more changeable brain. Another one is to pick a different way home or pick a different way to work. So your route has changed and you're finding a new way. You're discovering something new and you're firing new pathways, and you're actually creating new pathways. Use your non-dominant hand. It'll be uneasy, it'll be uncomfortable, but it's training your brain. It's totally worth it. Keep your eyes closed when you do your shower in the morning, so you have to feel around and use your other senses. Here's a really frustrating one. Take your mouse, put it over on the other side, and use it with your non-dominant hand on the computer. When you're doing this and training your brain and working it out, quite literally, you're even becoming smarter. Your IQ goes up, flexibility goes up, your decision-making abilities go up, but most importantly, you're more likely to be able to develop new habits and be open to that even more in the future. Sure, all of these things are going to take more time, and your subconscious brain is going to be screaming out the entire time, stop! This is so inefficient and it's taking so much energy. But that's good, because every time it's screaming like that, it's learning like crazy to be more plastic and more changeable and more malleable and more flexible. Another great thing that you're benefiting from is that you're increasing your attention. So when you increase your attention, you're able to focus longer on certain things, and that increases your willpower. So bottom line is, this is also a willpower exercise, making it stronger the more you do it. And once you teach your brain that change is okay, it's more accepting of that change, and habits are way easier to form, and they form a lot faster. Not only are new habits easier to form, but old habits are easier to kick out, because when the subconscious learns it's easy to adopt new pathways and new routines, it's okay with letting go of the old ones.